Are we a go-go? I think we are. There we are. Woo! We're there. We're there. Let me get the unrelated chats. That's all good there. Hang on. I need to do the usual. Sort out all my things out on unnamed. Okay, so how do I, if I push this here and I push this here, and hopefully I'll see which, hi Kat, how are we doing? Oh, hope you're feeling better. Okay, I'll just wait for everyone to start piling in. Woo-woo! Right, and I'll start. We'll start the whole family search. Oh, no. How do I? Is it this button? There we go. There we go. Hi, caveman. Great to see you. I am well. I'm very, very well. Although I had a little 15-minute power nap, so I didn't mean to. I was watching videos before I came on live, and I fell asleep. So, but luckily I had an alarm set. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Everyone's. I can see here that all the names are starting to sort of pile in here. I will just say, just for those who are sort of typing names that are. I've already got videos for, like the O'Reillys, like the O'Dohertys. I've got a full video of them on the other platform. I'm not allowed to say the other platform because TikTok bans me. But link is in my TikTok profile. So but TikTok is never happy when I mention other things, so I have to be very, very careful. But I hope you all know what I'm referring to. But yes, okay, so I can see names are starting to come in. So I will just say, if you're mentioning names like O'Doherty, or O'Reilly, Murphy, I already have those ones spread out between all the platforms. I don't know why it's so. It's so difficult just to do that. It's so like I'm being censored. They don't want to know the truth. Yeah. So we'll just sort of go into it. I'll start. I almost. Oh, okay. Well, I'll put them. I see. I've got a bit of pen and paper now. So what I do is I'm taking some of these names down as I'm waffling, and then we'll just start getting into. We'll get into some of them. So, right. Okay. There's plenty of them. Good to hear. Lived live the other day with Philip. Good stuff. Yes, so Philip, and just before we'll do a quick announcement, why is Birkenhead Letters? It's a Norman name. Let me just, while I'm just waiting for, just so you can get a bit of a thing there, just my early announcements before we get stuck straight in. First things first though, Finton, please put the names, the anglicised version of the name, please. let you wish that my Irish is very bad. And Brooke Craven's Damien Michael. I have a full video, 20-minute video of that on the other platform. I would definitely check that out. But yes, I have a live tomorrow, and it should be linked to my TikTok. I set it up so hopefully this now streams on there, where we're talking about Irish ring forts. So tomorrow 10 p.m. Iron Time with Dr. Owen O'Neill and Philip Hayes from Irish medieval history. So right, we've done the introductions. Yeah, I know, Kat. I know. Would you believe it? Would you believe they would ban me? I can't believe it. Right. So let's just get stuck straight in, because people are mad. And I don't wanna. So the very first person I wrote down here was Vaughan. So we'll get straight into that. So as you can see, Vaughan has a multiple of origin points. So it's under my other bracket, and that's because Vaughan is a Welsh name, but it's also got Irish branches, unrelated Irish branches as well. But it's obviously it's one of the names that came across from English or Welsh branches that settled Ireland. So I've put it in the Dublin area because that's mainly where they came from. But they were primarily, to be fair, where they landed. But to be fair, primarily they found in Mayo, the Welsh fawns, around Tiroli. So I really should have gone there, but I just was kind of just putting the Welsh branches there. But we do have Irish, like I said, we do have Irish fawns as well. The O'Behanes are in County Clare. I haven't put them on the map, but County Clare, the O'Behanes Behans, they anglicised their name to Vaughan. So you see them, you see Vaughan in County Clare. They're of an Irish or Gaelic branch of the family. I do believe there is a Cork branch of the family too, that come from the O'Mochan, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. A bit more research is to be done on that. And then we have the other one, which is up here, Vaughan, another Irish branch, who is said to be a branch of the McMahons. So this group here, it is sort of repeated on a lot of genetic sites and other sort of other sites, not really in any sort of early sources. So the claim is dubious, but it is a claim nonetheless. So yeah, Vaughan can have a number of branches, and either Welsh or Irish. They are unrelated. So the Cork, Clare. I think the O'Mochan link can also be stated for Galway too, but again, it's just something I will have to check out. So, but yeah, there you go. Irish and Welsh early branches, depending on. O'Connors of Derry. The O'Connors of Derry are up here, and they are part of the Cianachta, or the descendants of Cian, and they owned lands in and around modern day Derry, Londonderry, depending on your persuasion, and all along the coast here. But they were actually overthrown by the O'Cahans or the O'Caans. So yeah, they kind of fall from prominence in the medieval era, because of that traditional, age-old tradition of Irish families, uh, knocking each other off the pedestal. You said you were going to do a Cahol and then you the live cut. Oh, did I? Oh, okay. So, okay. I'm sorry, my live cut. But luckily, we'll never really have that again. Now I've got a better internet. There's a number of sort of O'Cahill lines. I suppose we'll just sort of start for this one. So the O'Cahills of Kinlea are part of the Ephragra Anya, so they're related to the O'Clearys, the O'Shaughnessy's. That's their sort of link there. There's supposed to be another unrelated O'Cahill branch in Galway as well. So it's meant to be two Cahill families in Galway, but I do not know the family they claim descent from. If they're from, I think they're from East Galway. So East Galway, they may be related to the Ivina, who are sort of like I guess you could say like cousins of the O'Kellys, but that is speculation on my part. I've not researched that branch to sort of go deep diving in it, but mostly the most branches there are like I said, there's two branches in Galway. Then there's another O'Cahills from Tipperary. Again, I don't know their descent, and Tipperary is one of those melting pots where sort of a lot of groups melt into it. Modern day Tipperary, that is. So again, they're not related to the Galway lines or or any other line. O'Cahill's also associated with Owen Octor. So I've done a video on the Owen Octor. Although this group is from the Owen Octor Loch Lean, who are typically found in modern day Kerry, and may or may not actually, probably most likely not actually related to the Owen Octor at all, and it may be in a grafted genealogy. So although they were a very powerful tribal group in Kerry, and then the last ones are from Clare, so County Clare, who I know about off the top of my head. So the last ones are from County Clare. Again, I'm not sure if they're linked to the Dalcosh, who are a tribal group in County Clare, but as you can see, you're sort of looking in this all Munster, a bit of Connacht, and all that sort of good stuff. Someone was asking for O. Henry as well in the early comment section, early sort of requests, shall we say. Henry's one of those names that has multiple, but most, I would say 99.9% of our surnames have multiple origin points. So they're not all from, traditional websites will paint a picture of, you're from, Offaly and you're an O'Connor. So, and then it'll start reading you the history of the O'Connors or Connacht. I think I'd say if I was to put my bottom dollar down, I think the Maguires are probably one of the very few families that actually really get one origin point. But yeah, the O'Henrys kind of come from a multitude of families, should we say, a multiple like McHenry, and then there's sort of a couple of variations that I can't remember or pronounce off the top of my head, but typical as with every sort of surname. I believe the first, probably one of the most prominent McHenrys are most McHenrys are also found in Ulster as well, but one branch claims descent from the Kinlowen, so they're related to the O'Neills, the O'Hagans, that sort of branch. They're from Tyrone. That's normally the branch that is probably the most prominent. Another branch of McHenrys, I believe, are descended from the O'Cahans. They descend from one of their chieftains. Do not ask me who. I'm not very good with names, but whenever I do a video on them, I will sort of look into that. But yeah, they are related to the O'Cahans, and I have a video on the O'Cahans if you want to learn that history. So if you're from the Derry area of Ulster, probably look into that sort of link there. Another group are part of the ancient kingdom of Archela, so you're looking at Armagh and Monaghan, that sort of grouping, and then obviously you have the Norman branch of the McHenrys, I believe, are from Galway. So in the Galway line, I believe they are actually a Gaelicization of Fitzhenry. So the Fitzhenrys became the McHenrys in Galway, which is very typical of Connacht families from Norman descent. So yeah, it's this English name has been recorded in Ireland Wexford since the 13th century. It has been Gaelici. Sorry, that guy. I don't know what you're talking about. But feel free. McCormick, I have a video on the McCormicks, Liam. Literally, probably the last video I did. So please, hang on. I feel amazing. Light and laugh. I was just watching for educational purposes only. I don't know. I don't know if it's educational or if it's more just everyone listening to my ranting about locations of. Is it some sort of hyperfixation of mine? I don't know. Do I have some sort of my son has either has ADHD or autism, where he's being tested, and I wonder did he get it from me? It does seem like I get very fixated on these sort of names. I just so you know, everyone, just that for the typical announcement, shall we say, those of you who are gifting, although I greatly appreciate the gifts, you do not have to gift. All this information is free. It doesn't really put you higher up in the list, although it does greatly support the channel, so I do appreciate it. But don't just don't gift if you to try and get to the top. This is all free information, but I do really support it to those who do put it, just do send some. So I don't do it for the money. I do it for just because I need to get all this information up my brain. O'Doherty, I have a full video of that on the other platform, shall we say? Caveman, have you Moran, have I done Morans? Have I done the Morans? Can anyone check my videos to see if I've done the Morans? I can't remember if I've done the Morans. Caveman, have you asked for the McAvenny name before? I don't know if you've asked for the McAvenny name before. If you have, but I'm happy to go over it anyway. If you've, yes, Kat, thanks for reminding me. And those, but consider to becoming a member, because we are starting to do the weekly members only live. So if I miss your name tonight or any other night, now remember, tomorrow it's not names, no names tomorrow. It's all it's about Ring Force tomorrow. But and then Thursdays is members only live. So if I miss your name, I do members only live where it's a little bit more personal. So yes, thank you, Kat, for reminding me about that. Where would I be without my mods? Right. Yeah. So I'll quickly do the Machiavellis. And then we'll go on to there's a couple of names here appearing that I can just fire out, and I will do the MacIvers and stuff like that in a second. But everyone who is gifted Moose, Angel, Kira, King, Arthur, Moose, thank Cass, Nicole, Chance, Wayne, Kev, Sweet 3, thank you very much. Neander, thank you very much. Samantha, I do appreciate the gifts. Nicole, sorry, thank you very much. So so we were talking about the Machiavellis quickly just before we get into that. So Machiavelli, one of the main branches of Machiavelli are from again another branch of the O'Cahans. So being the O'Cahans, they claim descent from the Kenaloan, so related to the O'Neills, O'Hagans, all that sort of all the sort of groupings or tribal groupings, shall we say. There's another ones who are found in Brefna as well. I don't know if they claim descent from the Commuckna or the Ebruin Brefna. I haven't researched that group, but I believe they're from East Brefna. I'm flipping a coin here. I believe they're from East Brefna, but that's a bit of a. We'll just say Brefna so I don't get myself into too much trouble. But Brefna's so they're from Brefna, and Antrim is the caveman, is the Machiavellis. Just if that's I don't know if I'd already answered that before, so but I'm always happy to, sometimes I see names here and I'm like, oh, have I spoke about them before? Someone was asking, while I'm down here, someone did ask Rourke. The O'Rourkes are the main branch of O'Rourkes. There's two O'Rourkes, or two Rourkes, shall we say. The main branch of O'Rourkes are from West Brefna. Sometimes they ruled all of Brefna, or Brefna, depending on your pronunciation. They are cousins to the O'Reillys, so any O'Reillys here. And these two would often battle it out using the McCabe's, who were a Gallowglass family, so hired mercenaries, originally from Scotland, before being given land in Ireland and staying in Ireland. Seasonal warriors, heavy infantry that came across from Scotland. They weren't just Scottish, so they were part of the wider Hiberno, Gaul Gael, so part Scottish, part Norse, part Irish group of individuals who would settle in Ireland, and the McCabe's were actually hired by both sides, so they would often be fighting their kinsmen on the behalf of the O'Rourkes and the O'Reillys, and these two families would constantly fight over this area, sometimes owning all of it, sometimes not. The O'Rourkes of Brefna claimed to be of a tribal grouping called the Ebruin Brefna, the main Ebruin were the O'Connors of Connacht, but this is a fabrication, it's not true, so they edited their genealogies for that. They originally came from Leitrim, and they actually ruled Connacht for a while, and the O'Rourkes owned quite a massive kingdom in the 11th century, 10th century. So yeah, I often find them quite aggressive in the animals. When you read the animals, they're a very aggressive family. There is also the Muckrourks, which is a small family that may be related to the southern Neil. So, like the McLaughlins of, from who are related to sort of the High King of Ireland, Mael Shocknall, who Brian Boru took the High Kingship. Well, I know Brian didn't officially take the title of High Kingship, but effectively took the High Kingship off. So the McRourks there are um, that group. So if you who was the other McRourks? Thank you. This was very helpful. No, you're very welcome, Kevin. No, you're very welcome. So MacIver, I believe someone was asking about MacIver earlier. We'll get the MacIver, and I've just seen another name there that's just flew across. So the MacIvers, there's two MacIver lines. I've done a full video on the sons of Ivor the Boneless. So the descendants of Ivor the Boneless. So if any of you have watched that, very, very fan fiction Vikings TV series. Ivor the Boneless is the cripple apparently in that show. We won't go into the reason why he's called the Boneless, mainly because it's a video all on its own. But I've done a video on the, like I say, the descendants of Ivor the Boneless. Now, the some branches of this, the MacIvers, sort of claim this descent. Ivar is obviously a very common Old Norse name, or Ivar, depending on your pronunciation. But the thing is that people need to remember is that during the early medieval period of sort of 9th, 10th century, that Norse surnames were very popular amongst the Gaelic nobility. They almost became fashionable. Which is why you have Rourke is a good example of a Viking name being adopted by Gaelic families. Even if you have a Norse sounding name or descending name, it doesn't actually mean that you are a descendant of a Viking or Norse settler, shall we say. It's just some families did take on that eponym. So of the families that exist, of the Gaelic families that exist, the Irish families that exist of MacIver, you have the MacIvers of Sligo, and they're part of the Fiachra, so they're related to the O'Dowds, and they're actually often anglicised to Hard. I don't know how that happened, how you'd get from Ivor to Hard. But apparently that's a thing. So and I believe they settled. There's a claim they settled in Clare. A branch settled in Clare. I haven't researched that claim to see whether it's true or not, or whether they're from. If anything, I would say, if you were to say you were a Norse descended family, I'd say Clare is as good a place to be a Norse descent from the Norse descended branch, purely because of Limerick, which is a very famous Viking port. And Limerick, the Limerick area does have quite a lot of Norse related surnames. In comparison to other places in Ireland, overall not so many, but so you have those ones, and then there's an Ulster branch. I believe they are from Airchiela, again from the Kingdom of Airchiela, and they're normally MacIvers though. They're instead of MacIver, but the name is obviously interchangeable. So again, I'm not sure if they're related to the McMahons or not. I want to say they are. Again, I have to sort of tie that in, but they're definitely from this neck of the woods, shall we say. So yes, this is the MacIver sort of family. Monroe, please. Munro. So Munro is a very interesting name. So Munro's a Scottish name, but they claimed. So they've gone off to. They've obviously been from Scotland, but actually, interestingly, they in their oral traditions or their recorded traditions, they actually claim to be descended from the O'Cahans O'Kanes. So they claim to be a branch of. So I've got them as Scottish settlers because I'll have come across in the early. Have I got them on here? I used to have. Oh, there you go, Munro. So I used to have them on this list, Munro. They've come across as settlers in the early modern period, during the plantations of Ulster, which was, where Scottish, mostly lowland Scots and English, but some traditionally Highland families came across and were granted lands of Irish families, and they planted Ireland. A topic which we will go into another day in far more detail. But it's interesting that this family originally claims Irish descent from a medieval Irish family, not even like an early medieval or a link to an early Irish tribe, which was quite common. It's interesting. This family it's from they'll have only maybe been in Scotland for 300 or 400 years, and then they've come back. Shomika, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. But it is interesting that group. So yeah, they are technically from Scotland, but their traditional story is that they descend from the O'Cahans O'Kanes. So I'd say if you're a Munro, and you're sort of interested, I do have a video on them on my TikTok. Feel free to research about their early history anyway. But yeah, it's a just one of those weird links, as we should say. Maguire, please. Yeah, the Maguires are one of the very few names in Ireland, like I stated earlier, but we'll go into them. The Maguires are one of the very few names in Ireland that are literally have one origin point, and that's Fermanagh. So Fermanagh was founded by a group, the early Archelan kingdom. Archela eventually got pushed into sort of Monaghan region by the medieval period, but in the early medieval Ireland, they were quite a dominant kingdom in most of southern Ulster, northern Meath. So anyway, they pushed across into Fermanagh, and then the kingdom broke into a couple, fractured, and the Maguires ended up ruling what is Fermanagh. The name literally isn't really found anywhere else in Ireland outside of Fermanagh, in the sense of it. Obviously you can find branches all over now in the modern period, but in early medieval history it's not really found anywhere else. So and there seems to be no even inkling of it being associated with anywhere else. So which is like I say, rare in Ireland. Most genealogical sites will get you thinking that that we all come from one place, but it's not true. Morrow, do you know anything about Morrow? I would. Morrow is a variation of Murphy, so I would check out the Murphy video. Okay, we'll do Doyle. Philip, I am a Doyle. Welcome, kinsman. Murphy, Murray. But I have Murphy. Philip, I have a video on our surname. I think it's near the bottom. Right, hang on. O'Sullivan is Cat will love that they're getting a mention. So most O'Sullivans claim descent from the Owen Octa, So they're related to the McCarthys very closely in their early history. These two branches basically descended from the same individual. Was it King Fingon? I think I want to say anyway. And they were originally from Tipperary, actually, in a place called Cashel. They were part of the Oanocta Cashel, who became the dominant tribal group in the Oanocta. They eventually were pushed out of Cashel. Well, actually, their original lands were Knockgraffin, which is just outside Cashel. They would settle in Cork for a wee while before the McCarthys actually pushed them further south into modern day Kerry. They're still in Cork, but along the peninsulas, along the bottom. Kerry primarily is the more dominant region for the family, although it wasn't the main branch who was in Kerry, it was the bearer. The O'Sullivan Moors were no, they were kind of all spread out, so I'll retract that statement. But there is a small claim that some of them may be part of the Corca Lugda Corca Lira, who were the original dominant faction of Connacht, of Munster before the Oanocta's rise to power, and they became O'Sullivans too. There is a couple of claims about that. I don't know how true that is. I suppose DNA is the only thing that will link that. And I'm sure it's probably only a small number. And then there is, again, if you're from Ulster and you're O'Sullivan, again, a very small family where actually the Sullivans, Sullivan became Sullivan with the standardisation of surnames. So you do get a very small pocket of Sullivans in the north who are unrelated, but most O'Sullivans would be or claim descent from the Oanocta main line. They're the most dominant genealogically, historically. They're found in the annals far more often than any other branch. The Barrys are a Norman and an Irish family. Not well documented that they are two different branches, but what happened was the Barrys came across. They were quite a dominant family in the Norman invasion of Ireland. They were like the second in command. The Fitzgerald's nephew was second in command of the Strongbows invasion of Ireland, but they were a very prominent family in the Norman invasion of Ireland, and they were granted land in Cork. Unfortunately for the O'Bearers, who became the Barrys as well, it was right in their land. So they actually were, this is almost quite common, that a name that was very similar to a name of a more dominant lineage coming in, like the Barrys from Wales. They were a Cambro-Norman family, not an Anglo-Norman family. There is a slight difference. So you have the O'Bearers, who are in the area, and they obviously anglicised their name to Barry due to multiple processes for multiple reasons. They become Barry as well. So it's very hard to see who's who, and there's no real records. They were a very small family. Historically, they weren't a dominant family in the records. We just know they existed. They've anglicised the name to Barry in an area where they've been occupied by Barrys. So, like I say, I think genetics is the only thing that's going to separate those two. I do believe Barry is also mentioned in Bearers are mentioned in Donegal too, but this one's a little more dubious or is not as well documented. So we'll go for that. Next one was Divines. Divine is from a couple of families. Again, like all families, I'll just reiterate every single time that Divines come from a couple of origins too. I think the most dominant Divines or Devons are related to the Maguires. So they are a branch of the um, of the ancient kingdom of Erkielar, that I spoke about not 5 minutes ago. Hopefully you were in the chat for that. But yeah, they're a branch of the uh, um, of the Maguires. So they're related to the Maguires. I do know that there is or I do believe there is um, branches found in all over Ireland, in Connacht and Munster, mostly around Mayo, Sligo, Galway, the main sort of hotspots. But I don't actually know their descent. I don't think even their descent is really recorded anywhere. Um, um, and it's often anglicised to Davies as well, and there's quite a few families that anglicise their name to Davies, so you've got to be a little bit like careful of that one. But yeah, most divines, the most famous divines are um, from Fermanagh or surrounding areas, Tyrone, just that sort of group. Uh, Ferguson. Someone was asking about Ferguson. I just reread that list that I sort of tried to write down, and Ferguson comes from I think one of the early genealogists. Um, which was it? Wolf or McLyset said something about that it was a variation of McGilla in Ireland. So, which I may have to look into that one. So, but Ferguson or any of its sort of variations, Ferguson, Vargas, Fergus, Hargison, any of those sort of variations of it can be found all over Ireland. I think probably the most famous branch is the Mayo line, and I think the only reason, maybe one of the reasons they're more famous, is because they're related to the O'Malleys, and they're said to have been like a medical family. So they're associated with learned, shall we say? Or maybe the Leitrim family. I don't know, because the Leitrim family are also, so the Leitrim family were earners of a church. Oh, what church? See, I lost 2 years worth of research for this, and I'd have been able to tell you what church they were associated with. But the earners, I've done a video on earners. They are landholding families within churches. So families that are often providing the abbots in early medieval churches. They own hereditary lands. They own they have quite high up positions within the church. That specific church, not the overall term that we use, the church as in like the Roman Catholic Church. So yeah, you get the sort of Leitrim, they're found there as well, and they're part of a church there, but I can't remember which one, unfortunately. I'll have to do that in a video. You obviously then have the McFerguser, who are Scottish, obviously, and I believe they're from Perthshire, that sort of area, and they can obviously be found with the plantations of Ulster coming across and settling in Ireland. So to just break that back down, a Mayo family, a Leitrim family are Irish. The Ulster branches tend to be, and when I say Ulster, probably more northeast Ulster, because you're going to get families that bleed into the southwest, who are Irish. So yeah, that's That's the Fergus sort of family. Um, um, oh. Let's see here. Do you have anything on the Gavins? Have you ever done Gavin? I've never done. I don't know if I've done Gavin um, before, uh, but I certainly know about the Gave. Is it pronounced O'Gavin in Irish? Or O'Gawin? No, it's O'Gawin, isn't it? It's yeah. So Gavin or O'Gawin in Irish is the original uh, pronunciation of it. Uh, I want to. I'm partial to saying that I believe there is a Scottish English influence to one branch. I'm pretty sure Gavin comes from. There are Gavin is also found in Scotland and England. I'm not that strong on the English and Scottish history on the surname of Gavin and what it's associated to and what its eponymy is and how it's sort of came to be. Obviously, if it came to Ireland, it's come across with the multiple migrations into Ireland. But there are the O'Gowans who are the first branch was the Cocalera, so they are you'd be sort of related to in traditional narrative, you'd be related to the O'Driscolls, the Coffees of and just these sort of families that are found in the southeast. That's the Munster branch. As for I believe there is a Connacht branch as well. Again, found in Mayo, I think, north anyway. So it could be Sligo, Mayo, Sligo. It's in this part of the world, shall we say? But I'm not sure who they're descended from. Traditionally, this is an area held mostly by the Efiacra, so they'd be related to the O'Dowds. But there's a lot of overlap in this area of land, holding from different king groups. That's kin. Sorry, not king. I know people have misheard me pronouncing that in the past. So yeah. So basically, in essence, the name comes from Scotland, maybe some English branches, and then in Connacht and Munster, it would be traditionally Irish, from Gaelic branches. Obviously, there's multiple migrations. None of this is like 100%. If you're from Ulster and I say your name is from Munster, that you're from another family. That obviously families have moved over the centuries. This is just to give you a pinpoint of some of the things. I've got a clan organisation in Ireland with a chieftain, a part of Clans of Ireland. We accept members to share in history and heritage of Irish clans. We hold clan gatherings. Greetings are all welcomed. Kevin, yes, you mentioned that before. If you could just remind me of the clan and where I can send people who would maybe be. Obviously, my TikTok is got more people in it that you maybe would like to share that, and I'd be happy to promote that. Kennedy, from coming from the McKennetigs. There's a couple of families. Kennedy has a Scottish and Irish branches that are unrelated. In Scotland, I believe they're from Galloway, and they claim a Brythonic sort of origin. Obviously, P Celtic speaking people in early medieval Scotland. Eventually, Gaelic, Irish sort of spread into Scotland, and many families of Brythonic origin would start adopting that language, and that thus impacting the surnames that exist. So you have the McKennetigs of Scotland, but then you also have the Kennedys from Turk Kennedy in Fermanagh. I can't remember. I think they're related to the Maguires. certainly, there's certainly a lot of families in Kennedy that are related to the Maguires, descend from the Maguires. So, yeah, you have the so in Ulster you have Kennedys that are both the Scottish branch of Kennedys and the Irish branch of Kennedys. You also have probably the more famous Kennedys, which is the Kennedys of Tipperary, and they're from upper. Why can I not think? The upper. There's two baronies here, upper and lower something, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, but they claim descent from the Dalcosh, which is they claim descent from the same line as the O'Briens. Now, Brian Boru, the famous High King or Emperor of the Gael, but for simple terms, we'll just say High King of Ireland. The only High King really that we can really say united the entire island under his command, with definitive sort of proof, is his father was called Kennetic, and I don't know if the O'Kennedys claim descent from his father or from maybe a cousin or some other. Obviously, it shows that Kennetic is a family name, so yeah. Blessings from Serbia. Thank you, Dusan. Thank you very much. So, but yeah, that's the group. Thank you so much. You're welcome. No problem at all. Tours of Ireland. I would love to do tours of Ireland. I would love to, but I wouldn't even know where to start. My organisation skills are shocking. Anyone who's followed my lives for a long period of time will tell you I am never on time. These lives are really meant to start around 10 o'clock. You know, Philip from Irish Medieval History, who's a great friend and partner of mine, he is a. I don't see Armstrong. There's the Irish Armstrongs, and there's Scottish Armstrongs right here, or English if you want to really be specific. He'll tell you I'm so disorganized. Sweeney, I have a full can attest. Cat can attest. I'm shocking. My admin is a joke. But I believe hopefully just for news, people mental health and all this. But hopefully on the 2nd. I'm finally having my ADHD mental health meeting, so I could get a diagnosis. Anyway, right. We will come to that in a minute. Murphy or Davis? For Sheldon McBride, right? Murphy has a full video on TikTok. Fitzgerald, I have lots of information about the Fitzgeralds on my other platform, but we won't mention it specifically. Sweeney, as I have a full video on the other platform, click the link in my TikTok, and you will see. McBride, so we'll do Fitzgerald McBride quickly. So the Fitzgeralds came across with the Norman invasion. Their nephew was the second in command of Strongbow. They are Cambro Normans because they were descended from was it Marius de Windsor? Anyway, Norman nobility and Welsh Princess Nest. So they were Cambro Normans. All their land was in Wales primarily, and they came across the Norman invasion. They would then split off into two main branches, which would obviously split off to a lot of other branches. The Fitzgeralds of Desmond tended to be more Gaelicized. They tended to reject English imposition on an authority, and that's what would actually ultimately be their downfall, with their two failed rebellions called the Desmond Rebellions. They would produce multiple lines, Fitzmaurices, MacElligots, stuff like that in this area in Munster. Then the Fitzgeralds of Kildare tended to be more in line with the Butlers, the main branch of Butlers, who would look more towards England for their authority, whether that was the Plantagenet England or the eventually Tudor England and whatnot. So these two sort of branches had different outcomes mainly for aligning in the direction that they did. But they are a Norman family traditionally, but they are quoted as becoming more Irish than the Irish themselves, and that would be the Desmond branch specifically. They were very Gaelicized. They integrated themselves into Gaelic society. A lot of Norman families did. A lot of the Norman families, I would say, are probably some of the most influential families in Irish history, especially into the late medieval and early modern period, so therefore having the most impact on Irish history as we know it today. As for the McBrides tend to be, they're from the McGilla Bridgets, and there's two McBrides, may even be three. I think there's a Mayo branch, but certainly the Inishowen McBrides they're related to the O'Dohertys. Through the O'Doherty connection, they're related to the likes of the O'Neills, being part of the wider Kennel Owen kin group, so thus claiming descent from Niall Nogalach. There is a Scottish McBride though as well that would come across, mostly found in sort of the northern Antrim area. They are, I believe, from I want to say the Galloway region, but I can't think off the top of my head. I've kind of caught a lot of my Scottish research quite recently, but if you are interested, if you have Scottish connections, I would say to check out a good friend Clint Edwards at Scottish Clans podcast. He does some amazing work, and he does very much similar to what my videos would be like, but they're far better, and they're all based in Scotland, so check him out. Nope. So yeah. Oh, my streaming services. Can anyone hear me? Have we lost connection? I don't know. How's YouTube not receiving enough internet? Huh? How is YouTube not receiving enough internet? I'm not even. My internet must be going really, really terrible. We'll just give it a second. TikTok and other streaming and other TikTok and other platforms. How is the connection? Are we okay? Are we glitching? Fine? Okay. That's alright then. It's just I'm getting a warning, so I just want to make sure before I started to try and fix anything. Go for that. O'Reilly and what city? Unfortunately, Rosemary, I don't do specific cities. But I have a full video on the O'Reillys. I mainly just talk about medieval origins. So this is the origin of the surname, the location of where it originated, not the cities where they would eventually end up. Any timings I give Denise is always Dublin time. So 2200 Dublin time. Tomorrow, for instance, is the talk about ring forts with Dr. Owen O'Neill and Philip. Okay, so we'll come back to getting some of these names ticked off. Again, I'll just really quickly. Let me just do my inactivity thing from YouTube. TikTok, sorry, don't cancel me, TikTok. I was saying TikTok. TikTok, don't cancel me for nearly saying that word that you don't like me to say. Hang on, I just need to TikTok. Just every hour you have to do this little test thing that um, to prove that you're not inactive. I don't know why. I don't know why. They're okay. Where are we going? So yeah, I wrote some names down. So let me just okay. Let me just put that name down for a second. Sheehan. I will get to them in a second. Just let me do the names I've got already, and I'll answer that question. I'll answer that question in a second. Okay, someone asked earlier for the Spillanes. The old Spillanes. Probably the most famous Spillanes are from County Clare. And it's mainly because they lump themselves in with the well, they're actually from Tipperary. That's actually a lie. They're actually from Tipperary, but they're associated with the family in Clare, which is the O'Briens. They're part of the Dalcosh, and they're from a. So that's who they claim descent from. So they claim descent from, similar to, like I said, the O'Briens, the McNamaras, the O'Kennedys, that sort of that sort of that sort of group of individuals. There is a group that's found as part of the Efiacra too, so they're related to the likes of the O'Dowds. And I believe there's a connection with the name Spellman, which is an English name. I don't know if some of them became Spellmans, if they got anglicised to Spellman, but I'm pretty sure there was a connection between between that. But yeah, so there's two branches of the O'Spillians from Sligo, Mayo, and from County Clare. So someone was asking about the Leonard surname. Leonard is one of the top names of, like, anyone will ask you the Mackay, McKee, Keys, McGee, and the Hughes surname. They're ones that I really dislike talking about because of just how many branches, unrelated families, how many variations. Just because of how common the surnames were, or the first names were, in Ireland. Leonard is another one that I generally actually and haven't had to go into too often, just because of how many branches it's related to. You've got the O'Lennons, who anglicised their name to Leonard, the O'Loynans, who anglicised their name to Lennon, the O'Loonans that anglicised their name to Leonard. There's more. There's a McGilla group. I can't remember McGilla. I think it's McGilla Linen, something like that. Anyway, who become Leonard. I think Leonard's also an English name. So yeah, it's there's a lot of families that are became Leonard. Probably the most common one is the ones where is the O'Lennons, who are associated with Donegal. They're probably, I suppose, Fermanagh, sorry, Donegal, northern Fermanagh, South Donegal. They're probably the most famous. I believe they're probably the most numerous as well, because they were an earner family, so they were an ecclesiastical family associated with the church. Can't remember the church for the life of me. And also the O'Loonans are from Fermanagh too. So Leonards tend to be concentrated in Fermanagh, South Donegal, Tyrone in quite high concentration, just because of how many branches became anglicised the name to Leonard. Sorry. So yeah, there's quite a few. There's also I think that McGilla family that I was talking about as well is from Fermanagh too. So you can see Leonard. I'm sure if you looked at a hotspot map of Leonard, you would find a huge amount in this area. But there are families in the O'Loynans are from Cork. I can't remember where in Cork. But yeah, Fermanagh, Cork are some of the areas you would find it in large numbers. I believe there's also families found in Connacht too, but typical areas, Galway and Mayo, would be your sort of numerous spots to look into. But yeah, if you're from Fermanagh and you're called Leonard, you're descended from possibly up to 3 unrelated branches of Irish families. And it may have come across from English. I believe it's associated with Norman families, English families as well. So you've got that to contend with, which is why I hate the surname. Not hate Leonards, I don't hate your surname, but trying to decipher each branch of the surname is hard. So, which is why I tend to avoid it. I'm sorry if you've come in here before and you've been like, Leonard, and I've ignored you. I just didn't want to go into how deep that is. Farley. Someone was asking earlier about Farley. Yeah, Farley has a couple, again, like every Irish family, has a couple of unrelated branches. Again, probably the most famous branches are, like I said, Cavan, mainly because they are a Erna family, so they're associated with a church, therefore they're documented. So Cavan's obviously modern day is part of the ancient kingdom of Breffna. I don't know which church they're associated with, but when I do that video I will be certain to link it together. And then you obviously have the group from Limerick, the Farleys from Limerick, although I don't know if they are still extant. I think I read somewhere that they're not really found in this area anymore, but apparently a branch was in Limerick. And then you obviously have the O'Farrells. The O'Farrells sometimes anglicise their name to Farley as well, which can lead to a bit of confusion for anyone in the Cavan, Longford area. Yeah, that's the Farleys, the Farley surname, and its link. Someone was asking about earlier as well, the McManuses, I believe they were asking about. And then we'll get the Malones on there too. Actually, I'll just write this down, and then I've got the Sheehans as well that I said I would check into. Let me just write Malone down so I don't forget. Malone. I'm all alone. I'm alone. There's no one here beside me. Yeah, you're not here for my singing, are you? Right. I need a drink, that's what I need. Okay, so the main McManus sort of families tend to be from the Roscommon area, That's one of the main branches of the McManuses. I believe they're related to the O'Connors, though, not the O'Kellys. So they're found in, so they're related to the O'Connors, so therefore they're any Bruin line. So there's a branch in Roscommon. There's also another branch up in Fermanagh who are related to the Maguires. Again, so we've talked about family, how the Maguires came into existence from the ancient Erhelen kingdom, owned all this area and split into two branches. I believe there's been in the past some confusion between McManus and McMahon. They're not related. They are distantly related, but not in any sort of sense where the eponym can be confused. I think McLycett does some great work on, not great work, but he does do great work. But he sort of separating these two families' origins. But yeah, they tend to be from Roscommon and Fermanagh is the main sort of areas for the McManuses. I believe there's also another attempt by people to link McManus. I believe Manus has is a Norse variation of Magnus. And some people have tried to link it to a Viking surname, but it's not. It's a very, very, very obviously a Gaelic Irish surname. O'Shea, I have a video on the O'Sheas and O'Hagans. Bit wacky tonight, eh? Am I a bit wacky tonight? Maybe I've just got a bit of too much energy. I'm getting tired now. Could you please explain the connection between Ramsey and Logan, the connection to Saint Truana through the church? No, I'm sorry, Marvel. I cannot without a bit of research. I'd need to look into that. And when you come to a specific church, specific king, when you start to focus into a very very specific point, I'm really only interested in, not that I'm not interested in them, but I can only retain the information of very powerful individuals, and not every branch of every family. I have sort of memorized, not to heart, but I have them in my brain up to sort of nearly like 3,000 names and their basic history. It's so well, then when I say 3,000 names, most of them are variations of the same names, but so forgive me if I don't know every point, but I happily research all these things all the time. I spend most of my time just literally heading books. O'Sullivan, I have a full video on the other channel found in a link on my TikTok. A full 20-minute video on that, the history of everything you could ever want on that. I'll just Doyle's as well. I've got a Doyle is in my TikTok. Amy, no worries. Yeah, just click the link on my TikTok and you'll see O'Sullivan's in there. Yeah, so anyone, just if you're into the longer form videos, a bit more in-depth history, some of them, there's a lot of families on there too, Scottish and Irish. I do a lot more Scottish history on my link on the link on my TikTok. Everyone who's gifting, thank you very much. Remember, you do not have to gift to get your name mentioned. This is all free. Irish history is free. Should be free to everyone. So you do not need to gift, although every gift is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. It helps the channel. Anyone that is... but if you do find you've got a little bit of spare change in the back pocket, feel free to consider becoming a member, where I do members only lives every Thursday, where it's a bit more, there's a lot less people in it, so and you get a bit more time, and I spend a bit more time researching each name as well. And we also, whenever it gets a bit quiet, we also add their names to the map, which is always good fun. So, did I say someone was saying earlier about the Sheehans? Were they not? Someone was I think someone wanted Sheehan, but I don't want to go into it if they didn't. Let me see. I did write it down, but I've kind of scribbled it like doctor handwriting. Oh yeah, they did want Sheehan. Okay. Right. In Sheehan, again, Sheehan has a couple of families that are very close together, but they're unrelated. So you have the family of Roscommon Sheehans, who are from the Galway Roscommon. They're related to the Yvina, so they're related to likes of O'Kelly, and then you have the Dalcar Sheehans, who are related to the Dalcar, so they're mostly associated with the O'Briens. I believe the Sheehans of the O'Briens lines are closer to Limerick. They're a little bit lower down in the Dalcar territory, normally found around here. As for the Yvina group, I believe they are in sort of south central of Roscommon. So they're both found in the southern regions of their family locations, and obviously it can be anglicised to Sheehan, Sheen, all that sort of. There's multiple variations. So, but yeah, so they're the two groups. So I'll probably have to I might do videos on the wider groups of the Yvina and the Dalkarsh, just so people can get an understanding of who these groups are. Because I've done the Dacia tribal group, I've done the Oanocta tribal group, so it may be best to just start doing some more of them again. So as someone was saying there before, was it? Malone. Denise was on about Malones, weren't you? Malones are, I believe it's the Magilla Owen, or O'Mweel Owen. No, O'Mweel Owen, and it got O'Mweel Owen, and it got condensed down to Malone, and it means the follower of, or the devotee of Saint John. And definitely the most famous branch of this group is the Clonmacnoise family. Clonmacnoise was a massive ecclesiastical site for centuries, and it's linked to the Clonmacnoise is found in the Midlands of Ireland, and it's heavily linked to the one branch of the Malone surname. I believe they used to claim descent from the O'Connors or the E. Bruin, but I think that's been changed. If I remember rightly, it might be a fabrication. The other Malones can come from Maloney though. The surname Maloney is sometimes anglicised to Malone, and they're from Tipperary and Limerick. So that's the two branches that you can be descended from. But the Malones of Clonmacnoise are pretty well documented. It's just south of the Shannon there, just south of Athlone, if you're interested where Clonmacnoise is. Believe there's a cross in Clonmacnoise as well that's linked to the Crusades. A piece of I believe they brought a piece of the true cross back from the Crusades. Obviously, take that how you will, whether it was true cross or not, and they put it in the Celtic, what we call the Celtic crosses today, in modern media, in Clonmacnoise, which is quite interesting. just me here? Are you what cat? What am I confusing you? The yawns have begun. Cat, you know me too well. You know me too well. Look, how many names have I done tonight? I've done all right. We've got some good names. Someone's asking there in a minute. Do you do like strange? Well, it's been interesting, but I have to go. I'll look your links. Thanks for your time, Moose. I'm sorry, Moose. Did I miss you? I know you donated earlier. Moose messaged me. Did I miss you doing Fitzgerald? You did, but they're a Norman family. I would go to my other links. Yeah, there you go. MJC. Hang on. That's what I wanted to see. Hang on, MJ. But Fitzgerald, if you go onto my other links, you will. In my TikTok, there's a link. There's plenty of history in there for you about MGC. Yeah, I saw your comment earlier. I wanted to read it properly. Can you do the uncommon name of Choate? You know, do what? It's I would normally do like unusual names, but it's unfortunately it's I only do Irish names, and I believe Choates that I don't know of any Irish names of Choates. I know that I'm under. I've no idea. That seems like a variation of Coates. I believe, or Choate is I think that's a very English name. There's not. I don't know of an Irish family who bear like an Irish descended family that would bear that name. Obviously, you've got individuals who are Irish today that obviously bear that name. We're not going to go into that sort of debate because it's ridiculous. You know, live in Ireland, you are Irish. But yeah, it's a very English name. Unfortunately, it's not. That's probably why it's uncommon. I don't know of an Irish branch adopting the surname Choates either. McFadden, Mystic Steph, yes, I can do McFadden. Just I'll do them next. But yes, that's why I haven't really covered them, just because it wouldn't be my thing. Collins has English and Irish branches. That's correct, 100%. Kim Tozer just became a super fan. Thank you very much. Welcome to the clan. I really do appreciate that. Is Sweeney Irish? It's originally Scottish, but they claim Irish. Check out the full video on the link. Good to see you live again. 2 wins. How we doing? Yeah, 2 wins. We're good to see you. We're back. We're back every week. We're 100% back. I have new internet, which is why I wasn't able to go live. Anyway, yeah. Have you done liked? So anyway, we were gonna do McFadden's, weren't we? You've done well, thanks, Kat. I think we've. I love it whenever we get some names in that haven't been covered before as well. It's always nice when I get a chance to do sort of names that I haven't, because a lot of names I do sort of end up every live will sort of there's some names that will get mentioned quite a lot. But I will say that I do have a lot of names on my TikTok and on the other link. Some of the ones on my other link aren't even on my TikTok, so I would check them out. But anyway, we were talking about the McFaddens or McFadens. Oh, my speaker just fell over my microphone. That's I promised someone that we'd do that next. So let me just fix my microphone before it decides to fall over again. So yeah, McFadden or McFadden traditionally has two three branches. Three branches. The McFaddens. There's a McFadden branch who are Irish from Donegal, traditionally. They are found here, and I believe they might be related to the O'Donnells through the Connell link, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But they are traditionally found. This branch is traditionally found in um, in Donegal. But there is the McFadens with it's Faden with a F though, but it got anglicised to McFadden, who are I believe from Kintyre in Scotland, and they came across to Ireland um, uh, during the plantation of Ulster, and some of them did settle in Donegal too. I believe in the south as well, where the McFaddens, the Irish McFaddens, would be from. There's also the McFaddens or the Paddens, the McPaddens and Patterns that sometimes converge with the McFaddens or are interchangeable, and they're from Mayo. So this sort of part of the world is sort of McFadden hotspot. Obviously with the link from Scotland being over here, but a few of them did settle in Donegal. And I believe there's also Patterson is sometimes linked, which is a Scottish name. Again, it's a Lowland Scotland name though. It's a Lowland Scots name, traditionally associated with Lowland Scotland. And I believe sometimes that got in Scotland got twisted around to McPaden. So you can see how there's an Irish and a Scottish branch, and they're very interchangeable, especially for the standardizations of surnames in the 19th century. So yeah, Irish branches, main one being the McFaddens, who are from the Connell, so related to the O'Donnell tribes, clan of Donegal. Group mostly becoming Patton, but in early history McFadden in Mayo, and then obviously you have the Kintyre Argyll family from Scotland, and possibly a small overlap with the Lowland Patterson family. So that's the McFaddens. That's all the groups that that's where the Ulster surnames come from, and a little bit of Connacht, I suppose. Right, I'm starting to lose my voice here as well. So not only are the yawns starting, but also my host's name is Patterson McFadden. That's so funny. There you go. So he's really, if you want to break it down into, you could say he's McFadden. Right, so we're past my usual time, so we'll maybe do one or two more, because I am losing my voice and I'll need it tomorrow for the Ring Fort talk at 10 o'clock here or on the other channel. I should have it linked to here though. If you want to know everything about Irish Ring Forts, tomorrow 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Dublin time. I will say with the surname Murray is more Scottish than Irish. Most, if not all, Murrays in Ireland who are sort of Irish is a variation of the surname Murphy. So I would say that if you're interested in Irish Murrays, Murphy, I have a video on the Murphys that you should check out. But primarily most Murrays will be of especially in like Ulster, will be of Scottish descent. Murray, but a lot of Scottish and Irish. So, but the Irish Murrays are originally Murphys or those variations. So Lynch, I'll do Lynch, and then so we do Lynch, and then I'll do. Thank you very much. No, you're very welcome, Annie. Like I say, I've got the video on there if you want to have a look at it. We'll do Lynch. Uh, I've done Gavin's tonight, unfortunately. We'll do Lynch. We'll do McNally, and then I'll see how I feel after that, because my voice is starting to go, and I need it. I need it tomorrow. 2 wins. Thank you very much for the gifted, Carolyn, Ryan, Jawaki. Thank you very much for all those gifts. Thank you, Kat, Keely. Thank you so very much, everyone. Sage. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Kat. I really do appreciate that. The comments as well. Away, thank you. You've all done great. You've all done. Thank you for Ever Gillian, Hayden. Thank you, JP Cotter, Michael, Steffi, Joseph Buckins. Yo, Joseph, how we doing? Moose again. I hope you messed this really fast. Who's that girl? Thank you, AJ, Nicola, Maggie. Thank you, Mel. Everyone who's gifted. If Lou Meow. Thank you, Philip, Hamish. If I've missed your name, I do apologise, Soulmaster. You don't have to gift, remember, guys. I do appreciate it, though. It really does help the channel. But you don't have to. I will get as many as I can. My Irish is Scottish and Dutch from my father's side. I find it intriguing. Well, there was a lot of Dutch in Ireland at a very specific point in Irish history in the 17th century, led by one King William. I don't know how many Dutch were granted land. It's a little bit out my time period of study, but yeah. I can't remember all that. So we said McNally. Who else did we say that we were going to do? I suppose I can squeeze in Carey. I know you've asked quite a bit. I'll put it on one little note here. But I need to, like I say, people. Well, I can't remember the other name. I said I'd do. So we're going to do McNally. And McCormick, I have a full video on McCormick's if you want to check that out. Cat, I wish I knew my great grandmother's maiden name. Well, if you ever find out, if you ever just let me know. Right, we'll do McNally. While I'm just sort of, because I'm starting to get a bit off track. McNally, actually, the most famous sort of branch of the McNallys is mostly associated with Mac Coola, which is the son of the Hound of Ulster, and it's sometimes sort of anglicised to like McCarley, McNully, McCullough. They're all the sort of names that sort of associated with. But there's also a link to, with the McNallys, there's also a link to, I can't remember, but it basically means poor man. And it's, that's more like McAnally, Canally, just Nally. That one, apparently, though, that group of ones is, I believe, a Cambro-Norman branch. They're no right, so we'll just break it down into, because I'm getting a bit scatterbrained. So the poor man version of the name, which I can't remember the full Irish for, of McNallys, who are traditionally found in sort of Mayo. They are traditionally of Cambro-Norman descent. So think the Fitzgeralds, think the think the Barrys. They're sort of descended from that. The Mac Coola, who became anglicised to McAnally, who are found in East Ulster. I don't know if they're associated with maybe the either the Each of Cobo or the Dalriada. But they're found in those traditional areas. Having the name Ullud in their surname, like Ulster, kind of makes it hard to pin them down exactly. Just a location is probably the only thing that sort of links them. So they're probably from either the Eich Covo, who are a group from this area, or the Dalriada, because they're found in quite a large area around here. Then you have the Macnalties, who sometimes get anglicised to Macnally, and they're from Sligo. I believe they're from Sligo. So I think the Ulster branch are either going to be Kenalowan. I think they're actually, the more I think about it, I think they're Kenalowan. So they're related to the O'Neills. So like the O'Neills, the Clandy-boy, this sort of region of the world. So they're Kenalowan. If you're Macnally from East Ulster, you're from they claim descent from the Kenalowan. If you're a Macnally from the west of like in Mayo, Anglo-Norman, and if you're a McNulty from Sligo, I have no idea. But they're another. So that's the Macnally. So McNallys, McNalties, all those sort of variations. And just to clear up, the Kinlowen is if you don't know, the Kinlowen are the tribal group related to the O'Neills who claim descent from Niall's 9 hostages. So I hope that you're from County Tyrone. Well, I would say that's fair. It's Kinlowen territory. So most likely you're related to, in their traditional narrative, you'd be related from Niall of 9 hostages, typical O'Neills, O'Hagans. They're just fine from it. Like I say, I thought they'd be associated with either the O'Neill of the Fuse or the O'Neill of Clandyboy, because they're found on this sort of side of Ireland. But Tyrone, it's not a far move. Okay. My grandmother's O'Neill and married a McNally here in the States. There you go. Distant cousins. Trust me, they are. Get some rest. Yeah, I will do in the very, very soon. Roach is a great name. Breslin, I have a full video on the Breslins. No worries, Brian. I will eventually do a video for all these names with far more information. But obviously, just what I retain in my head. I have to do research to get more information, but what I retain in my head is just enough to sort of point people in the right direction or keep you interested. Kerry, I think I was going to do Kerry next, wasn't I? Kerry is one of those ones. It's got a lot of unrelated branches. Some of them were ecclesiastical, associated with monastic sites. I believe probably the most famous ones are the Lords of Carbery. They're definitely the ones associated, found in most records, part of the Kingdom of Tethba in the early modern period. So you're talking Meath, West Meath is like a hot spot for the family, because this is the old Kingdom of Tethba. But you also have the O'Kierans, who get anglicised to O'Kerry. Excuse me. And they're from the Barony of Castello. That often gets anglicised to Cairns or Kerrin. That's most the O'Kerrans, but a variation of that name is the O'Kerrys. And they're from the Barony of Castello in Mayo. And then you have the Kerry, Kerry, McGilla Kerrys, who are associated with County Cork. And again, they're quite a They're associated with sort of Cork. I believe there's a link to Kilkenny as well, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. And then the last, but not least, I don't even think is the last, because there's a Tipperary line, but I can't think who they are off the top of my head. But we'll go last but not least is the MacFiacra Kearys, who are a Kinlowen family from Tyrone. So there, if Kerry has, like you say, Kerry has a number of families, a number of branches, a number of. There is a Tipperary one. It's, I think, because I'm tired. I think it's. I know they're the one in Tipperary is more often anglicised to Carew, which must be horrible for them because the real Carews. There was a very famous individual called Carew in Irish history. He didn't like the Irish. And they're a Welsh family. But I can't remember who their Irish family is. Yeah, because my head's tired. Yes, it is because my head's tired. Because, like I say, an hour and a half of thinking of family. I've done Kennedy. I've checked your YouTube channel. Thanks for sharing all this. Thank you, Kat, for being here. Appreciate it. Check the channel. There's nothing for dailies. Have I not done anything for dailies? I'm good. My husband is still from Cork. Any information? Not on this channel, really. Check out the link on my TikTok to my other channel. There's a full video, more history than you could ever want to know. You were going to do Lynch, but no pressure. Oh, that's right. I was going to Lynch, right? The individual asking for, I can't remember your name. The individual asking for daily. If you message me, I'll get back to you. Just put daily as the head title so I can see it. I don't normally reply to messages, only to members, but just because of how many messages I get. But I'll make an exception because I think I'd said earlier I'd do them. But we'll do Lynch really quickly. Lynch has quite a few branches. The most famous branch is the Galway Lynches. They claim Irish descent. Most likely they're from the De Lynches, so they're a Norman family. But there is a Lynch family in outer Galway, as we say, out of Galway City, just who were an Irish branch. And this Lynch later on, in the later 18th, 19th century, I think tried to associate itself with the Irish, tried to denounce its Norman heritage and reclaim its Irish heritage. It was very common in the 19th century, 18th, 19th century. But there are Irish branches from the O'Loinsics. So you have the Lynches of Antrim, who are, I believe, a Dalriada stock. And then you have the Lynches of Fanad, who I believe are a branch of the Ken O'Connell, so related to the likes of the O'Donnells. They're Irish families, they're native Irish families. Most Lynches, the name Lynch is obviously interchangeable with Lindsay, Lynchy, and those are the variations. But those are the three main branches. But like I say, most websites will just point you towards the Galway Lynches. They were a powerful family, mercantile family of Galway, ruling the politics and trade of Galway and thus Connacht and Clare. Whereas these ones sort of were a lot smaller in the wider world of Irish history. But yeah, that's the Lynches. Doyle, I have a video on the Doyles. But can I ask if for the map where it's very sparse, is this because you don't have the information, or is this where you weren't? No, Matt, this is because I haven't got round to filling the map yet. It's literally just where I just haven't got there yet. So normally I do these on my members only lives. I do a members only live every Thursday, and I would normally, if it gets a bit quiet, people have asked the questions, I would just go through and edit through this, but which is why it's like that. Just for now. I will say I've got to end it there. I know someone was asking for. There's been a few names mentioned a few times, but the brain is not braining now. I've been doing this for an hour and sort of 40 minutes, maybe even longer, closer to 2 hours, I think. I don't know. Let me just. An hour and 44 minutes. Yeah, I've been doing it for nearly 2 hours. So 2 hours of racking my brain trying to locate every surname. Um, you need a strict cutoff. I do. It's 12 o'clock normally because but I just end up getting into. I feel so obligated because everyone asks. But I will be back. I will be back. Fill 2 title gift spots as a thank you. Thank you so much. You don't have to gift Cat. I really do appreciate you coming here. Are the size of the names based on the size of the clan? Originally they were. I think I'm going to change that. Just of how important they were in that area. Yeah. Yeah. But if you remember, tomorrow's live is a talk with Dr. Owen O'Neill and Philip about Irish ring forts. So we'll be covering Irish ring forts. So there won't be surnames. Unfortunately, I won't be doing surnames. And then Thursday is the members only live. So if you'd like to join, consider becoming a member. Other platforms are cheaper, just saying, than the platform that I am currently on, TikTok. And where you can ask any names that were missed. So, but I really do appreciate everything, guys. Thank you so very much. Matt Porter, you're saying no. Thank you. But I know you're interested. If I could do yes, no worries, Matthew. But I will be back next week. I'll be back next week to do it as we've done again tonight. If you're not members, I will see you next week. Or, who knows, I may even just stick a few unofficial lives in the week, depending how quiet work is. So, but thank you very much, everyone. I really do appreciate it. You've been lovely, all ears. How do you become a member? Press the join button, Matthew. And I will see you all. Clarice, thank you so very much. Have a seat. Thank you, Kat. I will. And I will see you all soon. So until then, slán go fóill, have a great night, much love. And YouTube. Matthew, yeah. If you're wanting to become a member, it's I think there's a really cheap one, 99p. It just feel free to, and then you just comment on members only live, any members only lives that appear, you can comment on it, and I reply to my members more than I'd reply to non-members during the comment section. So but until then, have a lovely night, everyone. Night, Kat. Night, Matt. Night, Audrey. Night, Matthew. I'll see you all very soon.